This episode will cover flight controls. In relation to an aircraft, what is the boundary layer? It is the part of the airflow closest to the surface of the aircraft. What are three types of commonly used flight control systems? They are the cable, the push-pull tube, and the torque tube systems. The cable system is the most widely used because deflections of the structure to which it is attached do not affect its operation. What is used in large metal aircraft to keep control cable tension within acceptable limits? A cable tension regulator. What is a fair? It is a cable guide that slightly deflects straight run cables around structural features such as bulkheads or lightning holes. How much cable deflection is acceptable due to a fair? 3 degrees. Where does failure of control cables occur most frequently? Breakage of wire strands occur most frequently where cables pass over pulleys and through fair leads. Which flight control surfaces are considered the primary group? The elevators, the ailerons, and the rudder. Which flight controls are considered the secondary group? The trim tabs, spring tabs, wing flaps, servo tabs, and the anti-servo tabs. They do not alone cause rotation of the aircraft about its axes. Which flight controls are used in the auxiliary group? Think of these as high lift devices for slow speed flight. Trailing edge flaps, slats, slots, speed brakes, etc. How do wing flaps affect landing speed and approach angle of an aircraft? The use of flaps increases the camber of the wing and therefore the lift of the wing, making it possible for the speed of the aircraft to be decreased without decreasing the lift produced by the wing. This permits a steeper glided angle and lower speed to be obtained for the landing approach. What is a balance tab? It is an auxiliary control with fixed linkage that is designed in such a way that when the primary control surface is moved, the tab moves in the opposite direction. Aerodynamic forces acting on the tab assist the pilot in moving the control surface. What is a trim tab? It is auxiliary control attached to the trailing edge of the primary control surface that is positioned by movement of a cockpit control to reduce the workload on the pilot maintaining a desired flight attitude. What is the purpose of a collective pitch control in a helicopter? It is used to change the pitch of the main rotor blades, therefore increasing or decreasing lift. Why is it important for the blades of a helicopter rotor system to be tracked? To reduce vertical vibrations. What is the most efficient way to check a helicopter rotor for dynamic balance? The use of a balance computer. What unit on a helicopter is used to compensate for torque created by the main rotor? The tail rotor. What control operates the helicopter tail rotor? The anti-torque pedals. What are the three axes of an aircraft, and which control surfaces cause the aircraft to move about each axis? They're the longitudinal, the lateral, and the vertical. The longitudinal axis extends from the nose to tail and uses ailerons for roll. The lateral axis extends from wingtip to wingtip, using the elevators for pitch. And the vertical axis passes through the center of the airframe, from top to bottom, and uses the rudder for yaw. When installing an aircraft bolt, what precautions would you take regarding the position of the bolt? When possible, the bolt head should be positioned on top when a bolt is installed vertically, and the bolt head should be forward when it is installed horizontally. In these positions, the bolt is less likely to slide out if the locking devices fail. How is the propeller torque corrected for during assembly and rigging in some single-engine aircraft? Some aircraft have the leading edge of the vertical stabilizer offset to the longitudinal center line to counteract engine torque. What reference publications should be used to rig aircraft, including the control system? You should refer to the aircraft specifications or type certificate data sheet issued by the FAA and the maintenance manual issued by the manufacturer. What are vortex generators? Small, low aspect ratio airfoils mounted on the upper surface of wings. Their function is to dampen shock induced separation of the airstream, which results in a stall. What is a servo tab? A cockpit controlled adjustable tab attached to the trailing edge of a primary control surface. The tab moves opposite the direction of the control surface, producing the aerodynamic force that moves the primary. What factors are used to determine the proper cable tension? The size of the cable and the outside temperature. Why do control surfaces need to be statically balanced? Because an out of balance control surface can cause severe flutter. What is a spring tab? A flight control that uses a spring to assist control surface movement at high speeds. What tool can be used to measure control surface travel? A protractor. What does a helicopter cyclic do? The cyclic is used to control the main rotor to change the helicopter's direction of movement. In a hover, the cyclic controls the movement of the helicopter forward, back, and laterally. What would cause an aileron to flutter? An out of balance condition on the aileron. Where can you find the specifications for balancing the control surfaces of an airplane? In the aircraft maintenance manual.